Isometrics 1. Now you'll notice that from this point on, each day of class, we're going to be having ourselves a new topic of discussion. So pictorials 1, pictorials 2, pictorials 3 will be these 3 consecutive classes. Now, on the 24th, there will not be any particular, what's wrong?
No, I was just looking to listen.
I got scrunched already though.
Oh, wow, that was fast. You'll notice that on the 24th, though, there is not a particular assignment. That's actually a lab day for anybody to mop up and take care of 3, 2, 1, anything that has been outstanding for those days. So please note that when it comes to due dates, the 25 through 30, those are the dimensioning problems. Those are all due today. Many of you already have them turned in. That's wonderful, but make sure that you do. And then these 3 assignments, 32, 33, 33, and 34, are going to be due on the 24th. So we'll give you that extra lab day and have you finish that stuff out. Now on the 29th, we're going to have another pictorial. It's a different type called obliques. And you've actually been exposed to these back when you were in 101 class. That was the sketching problems that we did. We actually did pictorials in sketching. We also did an oblique problem in sketching as well too. So you've got to be aware that this is be something you've been exposed to, but now you get a chance to actually do it on the computer. Now please again note, hello Ian, hello. Please note that on the 1st of May, that is the CSWA examination day for those of you who are in 234 with Tiffany, who is still, thank God, alive, right?
Yes.
No, right? So there'll be no official class that day, and we'll not have anything due. There's nothing going on that day. The entire day has been earmarked so this lab can be open and free for you all to take the test. Now be aware of something important. It's been written up there on that board as you leave the room right here. The testing will take place between 9 and 4. Now it also says on there are no starts after noon. So we don't care when you come in. Come in right at 9 o'clock. Come in at 11:59, but you cannot start this test after noon. And the reason for it is because it takes 3+ hours to take. So be aware of that fact. Tiffany will talk to you a lot more about the particulars on it, but that is one of the conditions that we have. We'll give you all morning to come in and start it, but you can't start it after noon, because then it goes after 4 o'clock, and you can understand why, because I'm sure that Tiffany wants to move on with her life too. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You can't leave the room to go to the bathroom and things like that. You'll just lose time that you're taking your test. So be aware of that fact. It doesn't mean that we won't let you go to the bathroom. It's not something like you're closed inside here. But just know that that's time you've wasted, and there's a clock running when you take that test. And that's usually the biggest problem people have, is running out of time. So be quick, but be right. That's what's most important. So today, pictorials 1, Thursday, pictorials 2, next Tuesday, pictorials 3, and then a week from Thursday will be a lab day to be able to finish all these guys up and get them turned in. Your goal is to make sure you have everything through number 34 turned into me and finished and complete by that date. So make sure you got that in. This class does end on the 6th, and everything, of course, will have been due when it's due, so that's already going to give you due dates. All right, let's get back to today's assignment. Today's kind of a fun thing, so you just know it's a one-day project. It won't even take you that long. It's something you've likely never been exposed to at all, and this is the opportunity for me to do it. So this is Unit 13-1. This is assignment number 32. Now notice I did not assign you assignment 31. So if you're wondering, hey, what happened to 31? Did I miss that one? I didn't assign it. We only signed through number 30. We're skipping 31, and we're going on to number 32. Now on here, there's a couple things of note, importance to note to you. One is the actual assignment itself. And I think I already have that launched. Do I? Sure do, right there. And the other one is a template. So let's talk about this assignment and understand what's going on. We're going to be doing something today called isometrics. Now, isometrics means, in Latin, equal measure. Hi, Jamie, it's right here in the corner. So there you are right there. So forgive me, I can't take the time to talk to you, but don't check it, make sure everything's cool.
All right.
I wish you well. The other ones are working out okay?
Awesome.
Yeah, very good. All right, thank you. Take good care. Hi, do you have a question? You're stretching out. Okay, that's cool. Hello, Jeremiah. All right, so what we're going to do for isometrics is we're going to be creating these on CAD. Now, these are something that you've never used before. But the example we're going to do is actually on the last page of what we see down here. So what I'm going to be doing for you today is to explain to you the technique for how we actually set up our grid. You can do a hard restart on it if you want to. Just turn it off, turn it back on again, and you'll not be included, Jeremiah. I will show you how this is the way we would represent things before we had the ability to do parametric 3D drawing. We had to be able to show things in 3D. And you're familiar with these because you've likely put together anything from IKEA and it's been in pictorial drawing form. Actually, I'm free right now, so, do you already do it?
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. Okay. All right, so this is our way of being able to show multiple views of an object in a single drawing. So we can see the front, we can see the top, and we can see the right side all in one view. Now, while these appear to be three-dimensional, they're not truly three-dimensional. You all know, because you're taking 234 now, 3D drawing means I can spin and turn and look at that thing from any point of view, and I get what I'm looking for. In these, I can only see this one view of them. So it's not truly 3D. It's pictorial in that we can show multiple views in one particular view of an object, but it's not truly 3D, and I don't think I need to beat that any further. You understand exactly what I mean. So what we're going to be doing inside here today is I'm going to be teaching you the technique for doing isometric drawings like this in the field, in the world of AutoCAD. Now, it requires a little bit of setup, and it requires a special template. So what I'm going to do first of all, I'll put the instructions on here. I'm not going to state it up here. But we're going to start a new drawing, but we're going to be using a specific template to do this. Now, it's back on the T drive. That's the classes and support. But it's also available to you on the Moodle page. So I come back here to Moodle, and I click on this template file. It will allow me to, right here, I click on this, it'll allow me to load and launch this guy right here. Now, the only thing on here that you'll notice is there's already a title block prepared for you. But there's also dots on here that locate starting points for 6 different drawings on here. Other than that, it doesn't look an awful lot like that final drawing we just took a look at down here in our instructions, does it? Okay, so we're going to learn right now how to set this background and grid up to be able to work for our showing purposes and making these drawings. So here are the instructions for it. It's simple. Save this drawing right here to your folder as 18132. Now within drafting settings, scrunched, gotcha. Within drafting settings, and 3, 2, 1, got you back, okay? We're going to go ahead and set our snap and grid and make sure the grid is turned on. Well, the grid's already turned on in this case. But what happened here is mine's already set the way it's supposed to be. I didn't really say yes. Okay. There's something to understand too about snap and grid. I just walked through this, 3, 2, 1, and it will remain that way. But let me show you what you're going to be doing. Back here under your drafting settings, under snap and grid, right here. The first directions are that we want to set our snap spacing to 0.19 and our grid spacing to 0.38 and make sure they're turned on. Yes?
So those numbers for spacings there, are those from a standard of some sort?
No, they're merely for mine for this particular exercise.
So if you were to adjust those numbers, you
Anything
theoretically...
you want them to be.
Okay.
Anything you want them to be.
Okay.
Anything you want them to be. I just happen to do this so it fits within the confines of my drawing.
Okay.
All right. So about 3/8 of an inch and 3/16. That's what 0.38 and 0.19 are. Okay. So back here under snap and grid, you want to make sure the grid's turned on and set the snap right here to a value we set of 0.19. We'll do the same thing down there. And we click on that, automatically changes. Then we'll change the grid spacing on here to be a value of 0.38. And when I click the Y, it automatically changes as well too. Now, that's easy enough. You know how to do that, and you can follow those directions very clearly. There, and there's what we need. And make sure the grid is turned on, right there. That click right there, or the up-set key. Now, down here, what we need to do in order to make this to set to isometric, so we can do isometric drawing on here, we have to do a couple of things. We have to change our snap type to be isometric snap, and that's right here. See where my cursor is moving right there? It's set to rectangular now, and I'm going to switch it to isometric. Now, you don't see any change happen on here at all. But your grid that would have been just lines faintly on the drawing below can be turned into these dots by means of clicking on this 2D model space button right there. Now mine's already set, and even if I went on to every other drawing I do in this, it'll stay that way until I turn it off on this particular location. That's why you're seeing grid dots back here. Now when I do this and I click OK, isometric snap is most important. When I click OK on here, you'll see what happens to my grid. Okay? We'll do a little regenerate. Oh, do not stick. Let's find out what's going on here. Okay, because my snap and grid, 0.19 and 0.38, okay.
Sheet layout?
No, we got what we wanted to be on here, so we're all set. Sheet layout does not matter on there. So let me just take this thing back, and I'll zoom extents up here in front. There it is, right there. I just did a zoom extents, and it shows me all the grid dots. Everybody see that? Now, what's interesting to note, and you should note on here, is that as we see each of these grid dots, that point right there is actually a location where the grid is sitting on a point, or this X is sitting on a point. That indicates a position where I want you to start these drawings. So that corner I'm circling over here is actually that corner that is the grid dot you see right there. Does that make sense? Now I'll get back closer to it, and you'll be able to see what I'm looking for. Now what you're going to be doing is you're going to be drawing each and every one of these. And they're easy enough to do, they're really not that difficult. It's basically just a matter of counting grids along here. So I see this line is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, each of those triangular lines. So if I go to draw this, I want you to note that this is important. See how this cursor is oriented right now? All right, what you can see is down here, there's a blue button. See that little blue button right there? It says ISO draft, okay? It's set to the top plane now. If I click it, it changes orientation. Well, it turned it off, I'm sorry, I don't want to do that. Hit that on. F5, the F5 key you have on your keyboard will change its orientation. So if I click it once, it changes to that orientation or from the right. If I click it again, it changes to that orientation from the left. I click it again, it goes to that orientation from the top. Now you say to yourself, what difference does that make? Well, most often it doesn't make difference when it comes to drawing lines. So if I go to draw a line, notice on here the directions do say that we're going to go ahead, there's that F5 function key to toggle between the top, left, and right planes. You're going to create the isometric drawings of the 6 sketches, and they're all going to be on the object layer. You will not dimension these, you will not show center lines, you don't show hidden lines. These things are not typically shown in an isometric drawing. So if I want to go draw this guy down here, I already told you that's going to be 6 by 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go draw a line, and I'll start it down here. Now you notice that it's not actually attaching to that point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit F9. And F9 forces it to go to the grid points. You see that right there? F9 is what we call our snap. Some of you have accidentally hit that before in the past. You say, oh my God, why is my cursor jumping around? Well, now you know. So the F9, on and off, it's off now, now it's on. Okay, it's this guy right down here. That is our snap button right there, cursor restrictions. So I can click it there, or I can hit F9. Now, I'm going to go ahead and draw on here. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, and there's 6 lengths along that grid. You see what I just did right there? And I can do the same thing here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's how tall it is right there. I can go back 2 grid spaces, I can go down 2 grid spaces, like you see, and I can continue to do this, and I can just simply eyeball this whole thing based upon the grid that I've got in front of me. Now, there we go, and I've drawn that entire left side of the object. Now I can continue to go back here as well too. So I can actually follow counting the grid spots this way as well too. Now it does jump around a bit, may drive you a little nuts, but you see how I'm actually just using this, and I can start wherever I want to again there. I can paint, oops. Now notice right there, I'm not actually, you see how it's actually grabbing the end point? You ever see that right there? So I can't go to where I want to go? Okay, I've got 2 choices here. I can go to here and I can go to there, and that'll give me what I want. Or I can just hit F3 and that turns that snap off. But it's still going to go to the end point of a line or that grid spot, maybe not the end point of a line. So everybody see what I'm doing right here? I'm just hopping around and I'm drawing this figure. You can see how quick and easy it is, right? Yes, Brody?
So it's kind of similar to 3D Sketch in SolidWorks, right?
Kind of like it, okay? But not in reality. We don't have to worry about origins here, okay? It won't actually dimension it for us either, okay? So we say roughly and loosely, yeah, you're right. But in this case, I would never have equivocated it that way. But again, watch out and make sure you're not drawing things you don't need to, as I just did that line right there. But that's how we get the 3-dimensionality of these things. Yes, Brody?
Is there a reason you'd want to switch the orientation of it?
I will show you right now.
Okay.
Now, Brody asked a fair question. He says, hey, you've done this whole thing without changing your orientation. And he's absolutely right. Even if I had switched my orientation to here, and I decided to draw a line, I'm getting the exact same product, am I not? Nothing else has changed, right? And even if I change orientation one more time, I get exactly the same thing each time I do this. So it doesn't really matter about the orientation when I'm just simply drawing these lines. It does not make a difference to me at all. Now the only difference would be is if I turn my ortho on. Now ortho is this button down here, that guy right there. It's also F8. If I turn ortho on, then I'm restricted to whatever the cursor shows. See what I mean by that? I can only make like that, but I can't go backwards. See right there? See what I mean? So if my ortho's on, I can only follow the way the cursor is oriented. Does that make sense? All right, so that's one reason for that, just so you know, Brody, if I'm using ortho. If I'm going to turn ortho off, because I really don't need it. But if you had it on, then it would be restricted to it. Where we need to have this cursor's orientation, where it makes a difference to us, is here, where I'm drawing things that are circular. See this guy right here? So I've got a little demo for you right here, and I got the whole drawing completed, and I need to talk to you about these 2 drawings in particular that are circular. Now, when it comes to making circles, circles are no longer round circles in these isometric drawings. Yes?
I noticed in this drawing you got here, you have actually like the actual triangle layout.
Yeah.
Sketch. Is there any way we can do that, or is that really a pain?
The triangle layout.
You have like construction lines
Yeah.
between the points.
Oh, no, I just happen to have a smaller grid on there.
Okay.
That's all. No, but you can just follow the dots, so you can get what you need on there. No, it's not really necessary, and if you're having trouble following the lines, try harder. Okay? All right, now the reason I say this is because we look at this particular object down here. Now we've got something that's round, and we recognize that as being a hole going through this thing, and that's absolutely fine. But it's not a circle, is it? And we learned from back when we did our auxiliary drawings that we might have to make ellipses in our worlds. Well, bear in mind, these are not actually ellipses. So if you start drawing ellipses, then there are, well, that's an ellipse. No, it's not. These are what we call isocircles to go along with isometric drawings. And they're found in only one place, and it's not even a button up here we can push. It's actually in the ellipse command, but it's only available by typing in EL at the keyboard. See down there at the keyboard, the command prompt, I type in EL for ellipse. Now when I hit enter on there, I see I've got an option down here called isocircle. See it right there? So in order to do a circle, I must actually go to the EL ellipse command, choose isocircle, and then what that'll do for me is says, where do you want to start this? I'm going to choose that grid spot right there. I'll make my F9s back on again, and then it hops right to that point. Notice what I get now when I'm in that orientation. I actually get an isocircle that gives me the shape I'm looking for based upon the two endpoints. Now, to answer your question though about that F5, look if I change my orientation. Now I'm looking at it from the top. Change it again. Now I'm looking at it from the right. Does that make sense? So this is where it really matters which orientation you have that ISO set to. So I'm going to go back to the original and also simply click on that location right there. Now in order to make this, you see I've got a pair of these guys back there. Absolutely fine. But what I want to do now is to trim. So beware of this. When I go to trim, it's always best to choose cutting edges on here and choose that cutting edge and choose that cutting edge and then click that line you want to go away. If not, you're going to be doing little points pop, 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 cut off by the grid. Does that make sense? It'll drive you insane. You're going to be click, 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 click to try to get what you want. So just pick the edges on there. Now, what I'm going to do now is this. I got two different methods to get the same thing back here. What could those two methods be? Well, I could do the exact same thing again. Just recognizing that I'm going to be going from the center point here, where it was before, going back 2 units to a center point there, and I can create the next EL isocircle from that position right there, and it should give me that location right there. You see what I've done? Okay? That's one way to do it, or I could have simply done what? I could have copied the one I already had, right? Because they would be exactly the same. So again, if you choose to trim now, and you want to trim this stuff out, you see you're only going to get little pieces of flex like that because it kind of goes between the grid, and that could take you forever. That's why I'm saying go ahead and use the trim command, but choose that cutting edge and say I want you to be cut off at that guy right there, and I will make it go away to that point there. Yes, Ray?
Can you also use an offset on these?
No, and I'm glad you mentioned that because offset will not work. So let's say we know the distance from here to the next place I want to go is 3/8 of an inch, okay? If I do an offset, and I know I want to go that 0.38, and I hit enter. If I pick this and go 3/8, it's going to go automatically, horizontally, vertically, whatever direction, always parallel at a given distance.
Okay.
It will not respond at all to your grid.
Okay.
It does exactly what the offset does at a given distance, parallel to what I've got.
Okay.
That make sense? A
Yes.
great question. I'm glad you raised it, Ray. Because somebody will ultimately try that, like, oh, I'll just offset that by 0.38. But no, it does not respond to that grid in any way. Offset is offset, parallel at a distance. Okay? So, now the only tricks about this one in particular is, remember, you've also got this hole down here on the inside. And can you guys see right down here very closely, if I went to zoom this thing up? What is going on? What's wrong, Tony? No. All right, hold on a second. If you look at that hole in that drawing that I just showed you right there, 3, 2, 1, and you're back, you'll see that that's an isocircle, absolutely fine. Did I capture you again?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
All right, hold on. Sorry about that. Jeremiah, you went all that trouble, didn't you? Let me I'll unselect you right now. I got you, and I'll find you. There you are. All right, you are now unincluded. You will no longer be bothered. So sorry about that, Jeremiah.
Okay.
Better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, notice on here that I don't know radii or dimension or diameters either. So on here I would have to count that it's 1.5 units. That's why our snap is set to 0.19 between the 0.38. Does that make sense? This is essentially 1.5 grid spaces. So just make sure you're paying attention to where you're actually grabbing that when you go to click it. There may not be a dot there. There isn't a dot, there is there. So when I go to do that ISO circle, ellipse command, ISO circle, I can choose where I'm going to start it. Yay, it's at that same point, but now I gotta walk along there. There's one half, where there's two, and there's a half. See what I mean by that? Now, you'll also notice I left this line on there. What does that line do? That line is also the dead center of that ISO circle too, correct? We all agree with that. Now, sometimes you need to set up some type of a skeleton for this to make sure you're getting the right points in order to make these things match. But you'll notice if I do this again, I'll do another ellipse, ISO circle, come back down here, there we go. And now when I click that endpoint right there, then I can go and make the exact same circle there. What am I seeing happen right there? What's going on?
That's where you can see through it.
Yeah, I'm seeing through it. I'm seeing the back side of the thickness of that object. Now, if people mess up on here, they mess up here because they forget to either put that second circle in or they don't trim away to leave me that little piece of circle inside there. Just giving you a heads up. It's a pitfall that a lot of people have on here. So be aware of that. It's a silly way to lose 6 points. You want to know where people also mess up on here? There's 2 other places. One is this. That one little line right there, for whatever reason, people forget him. I don't know why. I can't explain it, Emily. It befuddles me. Even after 30 years of teaching here, that seems to be the one line that people miss the most. And I don't understand. So just go back and look at your drawings and make sure you got every single line you need. I'll put that back on there again. The next one is this. See up here? Well, you'll recognize up here there's got to be some type of a tangency across there. But there's where we're having a misnomer on here. Because that's not actually a tangency. Oh, it's supposed to be. But in this configuration and working in ISO circles, AutoCAD doesn't recognize a tangency between an ellipse and or an ISO circle and an ISO circle. So how do we solve that? Okay, when I go to draw my line, I'll simply say, oops, Daisy. All right, I'll draw my line, and I want to go from there to there. First thing I want to do is this. See how I got that grid on? Ugh. Stop that hopping around. Hit your F9. It goes away. See that right there? So how do I get that line to attach from there to there? Well, if you want to draw a line, your first inclination would be to do a tangency, okay? But you see it doesn't give me a tangency, does it? You notice that? So we've got a couple different ways of doing this one, and I find the best way to do it is to go from quadrant to quadrant. And it'll show me that line across there like so. Then I can trim away when I don't want it. Again, it was a mistake to just simply think that. See, I got to do all those things inside there to do that. Get it, and even that little tail right there. Now I'll take points off that. I'm looking for it, folks. Okay, little tails like that. But it's a quadrant to quadrant relationship you're looking for on there. So be aware of that fact.
How do you do the quadrant again?
Right here.
Okay. Gotcha.
Just do that. That's that guy right there. So line from quadrant here to quadrant there, and I'll get that line to go across there. And you're gonna laugh at this because sometimes, and this is the darndest thing. Sometimes people try to like, I'm doing the quadrant, it's not working. You're gonna laugh, but this is what I found in the past. I shake my drawing. Okay, I know that sounds stupid, but I've discovered this 30 years ago. I walked with like this, and then I did it and it worked. Okay, I don't know why. It could be a pixelation thing. It could be just it's afraid of me. Okay, I don't know why, but 9 times out of 10 it works after I vigorously shake the drawing with my real-time fan. So do it however you gotta do it. Just make sure you get that true tangency across there via the quadrant to quadrant. Now, the last thing to talk about is this guy down here, and that's this one right here to the. Come here. Slide over here a little further. On here, you'll see we got this. Basically, it's the disc. That's like let's call it an ashtray. Okay, we're making an ashtray here. So making this bottom of the puck right down there is absolutely fine. In fact, please note that on the drawing you're given, this guy right there, that 5 you see right there is actually this location right there. Okay, so I want to make sure that I'm drawing this thing in the right place. So this lip out there is going to be at it. So I got to come back from it, however many points. Now this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for its diameter across there. See that right there? It's 6 units across there. And it happens to be, in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4 units high. So length across here, there's 4 units right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can measure that. 6 diameter, 4 high. Now, the way I recommend building this guy is as follows. Go ahead and create this isocircle down here at the bottom. You know where you're supposed to be. We told you that that X right there is going to be this location down here. Come back 3 units from it, and that's going to be the dead center of this. That's what I've established for my isocircle right there. For that, right there, isocircle. Easy enough. Now, you'll notice that from that point, I made a line straight up. And that line right there is going to be 4 units tall. I'm going to be able to count 1, 2, 3, 4 grid dots. You see the grid dot there inside the blue? What do you mean by that? So then what I can do is I can build that exact same isocircle around that point. So now I made a hockey puck, right? Easy enough. Now, I want you to notice that the depth, the distance across here is 2 units. So 1 and 2 units. So that's what I did right here. I laid a line from that point and just drew it out here along the iso grid. Didn't care how long it was. Well, pardon me. Then I copied that line and I took it from, then I created a line out here 1 unit. I created a line up there 1 unit. And I just simply copied that line and took it from there and moved it to there. So you see what I've done? And there as well too. You got scrunch, Brody?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
Hasn't happened to me in a while.
I know, and I had a word with him a while back. I've been talking to him about Emily the whole time too, but she always seems to be one of the first. But that's what I did. So you see this is 1 unit and 1 unit, and I took a line from the center point out along the iso grid, and that establishes for me where this line's going to be right there. Now I can make that small circle on the inside. Again, notice that it is actually 1, 2 units. So you see right there, it's 2 units in its radius, right there. So I made that circle right there. And then where that line crosses it is actually where I make that slice that we see here and there. You ever see how I got that? So that's not difficult to do at all. You figured that out. Laid it out pretty easily. The hardest part on here has to be what happens next. And that is to get down here. We're going to go z minus 1.5 units. So along here, you'll see that this center line, not that guy, but this guy right there, he's actually down 1.5 units. That's why the grid will actually snap to that position on there. And what I'm going to do is to get that down here, to get these 2 circles, to get this guy and to get that guy right there. All I did was just simply, and I want to make sure I extend this because I trimmed it out on my example right here. I'm going to extend that all the way to there and there. So I got the 2 circles, right? All I'm going to do is copy this circle and that circle on the top, take its base point right there, and then just go z down 1.5 units. You see what they did right there? Now this looks weird. People go, that can't possibly be right. It is. It just happens to be that little glimpse you're catching. Is Tony dead? No. Oh, thank God. All right. I feared for you for just a moment. Okay. She didn't sleep well last night, everybody, so let's just go easy on her today, okay?
No.
I will not, all right, repeat, I will not be playing lullabies during class today.
Aww.
No, it won't happen, okay? And that's how we get that. And then, of course, where I can draw a line down from there where it intersects that circle, and where I draw a line down there where it intersects the circle, is where I will then go ahead and leave the geometry that I need in order to show that particular feature, and the back over here at least, this guy right over here, so that's what I'm looking for. So the rest of the stuff can be trimmed out to give me what I'm looking for right here. Does that make sense? Yes, Brent?
So you moved the upper circles down 1.5 units.
I copied
Okay.
the upper circles down from the base point there at the top, right
Yep.
there, down 1.5 units to find that depth right there for those circles. That piece
Okay.
and that piece right there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's why I made this sort of a skeleton on the inside as a centerline skeleton. Now that will not remain on your drawing, clearly, but I needed it to be able to find landmarks to be able to create what I wanted for the rest of the drawing. Now the rest of it is pretty straightforward. On here I'm creating this platform here, I'm creating that leg right there, I'm going from corner to corner. It's basically connect the dots. And then people say, well, how do I find this guy right here? Well, it actually comes from a line that goes all the way down to here, where these 2 guys meet each other right there, and when that guy meets right there, you can actually count the number of grid dots up to that location. Or I can find by copying this, and I can copy from here to here, copy from there to there, but then to locate that length of the height right there, I can measure it, and you can see it right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units down, and then these lines should be parallel, because it's designed to be that way. But that's 5 units right there, taking that point, and that's a copy of that guy right there. So it's following the isocircle. That's it. So I've got nothing more to talk about on this one. Just do yourself the favor and heed well the things I've taught you that will serve you, of course. And make sure you get every single line. That is usually where most people mess up.